All right. Um, Now it is whatever day it is. I want to. It's like halfway through January now, and just I have a kind of an odd question. It might seem to some of you, but uh, as parents or maybe grandparents out there, did you give your teenager, your kids, pornography for Christmas? To which, of course, you would respond, "No, I would never. Like, I'm not going to go down to uh, wherever and pick them up a Playboy subscription, or I'm not gonna. I wouldn't. I would never do that. I would never put them on a mailing list for anything like that. I would. Um, I wouldn't do that. And at least, I certainly hope that that's the case for you. That you would not do that. But if you bought them an iPad, an iPhone, Samsung Galaxy S Note, um, iPod Touch, any of these kind of devices, you got them a laptop, you got them a convertible tablet laptop, any of those kind of devices, you may have inadvertently given them pornography without knowing it. Or maybe just kind of hoping or wistfully imagining that they're going to be uh, good kids or whatever, that they're just not going to search for, or they're not going to desire those kind of contents. However, that's incredibly naive. Simple fact is that um, anything that is connected to the internet has, with it, I mean, maybe you got it to them so that they could um, work more on their schoolwork, or so that they'd have better research uh, access or whatever. But with all that access to the internet, with all that information that's out there, uh, in with that is all that other content that you do not want them to touch. And if you did not install on or equip those devices with some kind of watch device or software to either filter that out completely, or with the intention that you're going to monitor their use of that device. They're not allowed to use it unless you're in the room or you're nearby, or they're not allowed to take it into their rooms. Like, if you don't have specific boundaries around the way that they're using those devices, both infrastructural, so that the actual boundaries, as well as just kind of usage guidelines, I guarantee it that they are doing those things. Even if you're a little bit more tech savvy, well, we'll check the uh, the use history or whatever like that. And kids today, they know how to get around that stuff. And even if that's the case, even if, like, well, I'm going to put a block on websites that have specific keywords in the address or whatever, they have explicit content. If you can't block Google, for instance, Google image searches, you can, as well as you would like to. And one of the primary access points that kids have to sexually or explicit material now is just shared images from people that they know at school and in their community, which there's no successful means or software-based filter to prevent them from doing that through Messenger, through Facebook Messenger, through whatever those um, kind of interfacing programs is. So Snapchat as well. Like, there's just all this stuff. Like, doesn't matter if you don't have any kind of filtration on it. You're playing with fire. You have given your kid basically keys to a sports car and just said, have at it. And when they turn up with a massive pornography addiction, or they turn up with whatever other kind of uh, um, dangerous habits like that, yes, of course, they're culpable for their own actions, but you're really responsible for that behavior because you're the parent. That um, and so if you need resources on this subject, X3 Church is a great one that's out there. If you need software, CovenantEyes or X3 Watch are out there. There's so many kind of resources out there to help, but the main thing that you need to be is not living in denial about it. Simply that you need to be, I mean, of course, having those software things in place are very important, but obviously it's a heart issue more than anything else. And so, as a parent, what you need to do is have an open conversation going with your kids about what is acceptable and what is not, and not just simply what is and isn't, but why. Why do we not want to see images like that shared of our friends, of your friends? Why is it important for you to purposefully avoid explicit content, to hide ads, to take the initiative on your own, to hide those ads that are provocative so that you won't be led astray into temptation? In First and Second Timothy, Paul's writing to one of the people that he was mentoring, and says, like, you know what? Resist temptation. Resist it. It says, flee sexual sin and pursue righteousness. So, you might have well intentions with everything that you gave them this past Christmas, and that's great. Obviously, eventually they're going to have their own smartphone anyway, so it's a good idea to, with training wheels on, get them used to having that kind of access to the world at large and everything. But as an adult, it is still your responsibility, in the same way that you put them in a car seat when they were little before they were old enough to sit in their own seat in the car, or that you strapped them into the stroller. Like, you did all those things. You put the little plastic things into the outlets to keep them, because kids will accident themselves into unsafe situations, and they don't know no better. Sometimes they do know better, and they're intentionally looking for it. That's another thing that you as a parent need to deal with. But as a youth leader, I've had multiple parents bring their kids to me and be like, my kid is addicted to pornography. My kid is addicted to personal approval, of social approval. My kid is addicted to these things. Fix it. And simply the fact is, I have resources, sure. I have kind of knowledge, I have expertise, kind of experience about dealing with some of those things, but no matter how much effort I put into your kid 2 nights a week, 6 hours a week, 8 hours a week, that's not even comparative to the amount of time that you spend with them for one day. So if you are just thinking that you're going to delegate that off to me as a youth leader or as a mentor for your kid, you're sadly mistaken. It just does not work like that. You need to take that initiative. And you cannot just assume the best of them and hope that it's going to go well. So, let me encourage you with this, of that, I mean, most kids stumble into pornography, and then once they've become addicted to it, then they begin searching for it. If you can prevent them from stumbling into it, you've already won half the battle of them beginning to search for it later. So, our culture is obsessed with sex. And I kind of talked in my previous video about how even Christian churches are obsessed with objectification and this very sensualized image of women and things. And it's very difficult to avoid it. So the first thing that you need to do as a parent is you have to be realistic about your expectations of what your kids are doing and will do with these devices. You got to have real lenses on as far as seeing them clearly. put those filters on so that they can learn in a respectable way, in a reasonable way, but do not neglect their hearts. If their heart is deceitfully wicked, the way the Bible tells us that it is, you could put every fence and border around them to keep them out of this content, and like I said, they're still going to find their way into it. The only thing that can really save and preserve and protect a person's heart from being corrupted in this way is a gospel revived heart. So don't neglect that as well. That you need to constantly be having that conversation of this is what we're doing, this is what we're not doing. It's because this is healthy and this is not healthy. This is good, this is bad, and this is beneficial. That when you show love to a person, it's not for their physical body, it's for their whole being and their soul and so forth. And that will go a long way to preventing things like pregnancy, STDs, all those other things that you're really afraid of down the line. And so by doing these things, by having that realistic perspective, you can do a lot to help kind of insulate and protect your kids from making very serious mistakes in the future. So, kind of an awkward subject, but I don't have an awkward filter. So, I hope that that's encouraging to some of you out there, and that maybe it's helped you. If you want some resources, I'll put some things down in this description about things that can help you. And then, I guess as well, just join the conversation down below. So, I mean, if you're really upset about it, just remember, this is just my off day. So, peace.